Today, we are asking the question, is it drugs first, then creativity, or it's creativity, then drugs, or it's not drugs at all, but just creativity? Welcome to another episode of Dare Guru. I am your host, Bridget Mambondiani, Mwanawa Joy. Our guest today, a guy from the creative industry, Takudzwa Kawiti Duncan. Mr. Takudzwa, Zvirima Street, Murguruona say album Rasent Floew, Ngatangre Papo.
My streets are pizza.
Pizza.
The thing is, yes, album really more my streets. And I think Rugurira, especially track Mkomana Rana Master Age. Even kulonji vanhu vakaratidza kuri farira zvakanyanyisa.
Okay, whilst we are there, let me pose a very critical question to you, Takudzwa. We all know that the guy sent Floew has had his problems in the past. Allegedly, he was under the influence of drug abuse and he went for rehab. And now that he is back from the rehab, is there a change?
You know what, when you say allegedly,
okay,
but he admitted to it. So apparently, yes, he was working under the influence for the most of his career, according to him. That's why he decided and he went to South Africa for rehabilitation. Right now, I feel it's too early for us to judge.
Okay. Because whilst we are there, I have a question. Album Remkomana Rise and Lead, it's Rise and Lead, and yes. That album, was it made prior to him going to rehab? The songs were they written prior to him going to rehab, or it's after rehab? How exactly did it go, if you know?
From my own assessment, I think it's a combination of both. Panama song angato gararipo. Masong anga to recordwa. But to my understanding as well, he went with his producer Jamal, who is under the Nash Paints brand. So I'm sure as well as he was being rehabilitated, he was also working on some music. Because this is the thing we do as creative. Chinoita kuti munaende kuma drugs or to other resorts, dzisiridzo chadzo. Inyaya kuti pane chinhu chiri kuramba chiri void mu creative space yake. Saka kuwana chinofila that void kana time yekuita ma drugs kana time yekufunga zvema drugs munhu aite sei haifunge. So I think it was actually intentional kunze aende na producer wake koko.
Okay, let me get this straight. So you are saying the reason why people in the creative industries are resorting to drugs is because there's that void kuti muri kushaya zvekuita munozongopedzera maonoti aiwa kutorwa ma drugs ndizvo. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, to some extent yes, but get me right. Situation ya Saint Floew inogona kusiyana ne situation ya Takudzwa. Inogona kusiyana ne Mwanawa Joy. If you get what I mean, we can all be creatives, and it. But where we get our inspiration and patinozo share zvekuita, what we resort to do, zvinosiyana.
Okay, so according to TK, at this point in time, we cannot actually assess to come up with a point whether rehabilitation has actually properly worked or it has not worked. But again, triple issue people. But today, I heard Gutumkomanagabdam coffin on his launch. What's your take on that?
For me, I loved it. Like, for one, I loved it. I enjoyed the performance. Because for me, that's art. That's how creatives are supposed to be thinking outside of the box. I know kuti Zimbabwe coffee nirino representa chinu chinochikisa, atifani kutambira padhuze nazvo. But what he was trying to portray, from my understanding, kutaura kuti ndakange ndafa, but now ndaita sei ndamutswa, I'm alive again, like being reborn. Same as the title album rake, Lead and Rise. Ndozvarungotaura kuti ndakusimuka nditi ndotomira and becoming a leader as well. So apa munhu aritomutswa kubva kuvafi.
There you have it. From the creatives themselves, it's called art and they enjoyed it. But you must treat my headlines but just let us all, look at it from that point of view that it was art. But at the end of the day, you are entitled to your own opinion. And at this point in time, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a break. Welcome back. Just before the break, we were discussing what the creatives have termed art and what we other people do not understand, as Mkomana saying Floew akabudam coffin. But anyway, everyone is talking about ngwere. What is ngwere? What is ngwere? And I mean, what's your take on his choice of lyrics?
You know what? Zimbabwe is a trend nation. Kuti zviri kutrenda ndezvipi, zviri kupisa ndezvipi, and mastreets muri dry, mastreets mune nzara, mastreets hamuna chibage.
So what does that mean?
Okay, what I basically try to mean is kuti people are hungry out there. And iwe ukaona avenue yako yekudya nayo, who am I to judge kuti ngwere yazvibatira mbudzi yayo kuti idye? Do you get? The choice of lyrics anogona kuita unge asina hunhu anonyadzisira, but chinondiitira fani ndechekuti vanhu vari kujamba ngoma dzengwere.
Hanzi kana usingaziye ngwere wakatosara toita sei newe mumastreets?
Okay, tell you what, ndakaona kaskiti inini kebaby raitonzi saka mufesi aidrive but anzi unoziva ngwere here? Ngwere nyere. No, handimuziva. Motikari mbeyatomiswa kunzi sara panapa. That's how deep the thing is. That's now, you know.
But you know what? It even draws back to the drug issue that we're talking about, the drug use and drug abuse issue that we're talking about. Kuti, I hear that the guy Silent Killer is one of those who is free to express that he works better under the influence and that's his choice of creativity. And what's your take on that?
Okay, before I get to the take on that, I think paakataura izvozvo pane zvimwe futi zvaakataura prior to that. Silent Killer aiti before you blame isusu consumers rinonzi guka ravari kuti guka makafela ya crystal meth, and before you blame us for getting high on it, riri kumbopinda sei muZimbabwe? It's a drug which is quite expensive. Kune vanhu vane mari vari kuita sei, vari kuunza zvinhu izvozvo muZimbabwe, rinopinda sei paboard up? But inini makuda kutsura inini ndiri kuzori acquire inini, but the chain is longer than that. And it's more like iye aitoadmit kuti isusu tingori imbwa dziri palishi yekutoti takatointroducwa kudrug iroro ramatiri, saka takutonzwa kurida. And Silent Killer hanyari kutaura nezvazvo, ndandodedzera kuti inini handikwanisi kushanda ndisina, ndinotorida dombo iroro.
So are you saying that to some extent we can say that for him he becomes more creative when he's under the influence?
It's hard to judge that now. Why? Because kuti ticompare zvinhu 2 panda pane zvinhu 2 zvachoka. Tikuda Silent Killer ari sober, toita Silent Killer wedombo, then we can judge further, because you never know. Pamwe creativity yake haitombobve kudombo.
Okay.
If you get what I mean.
Okay, but in those remote streets, the issue of drug use and drug abuse, and you know, it's a very, very topical issue within the creative industry, with people having different stance. For some, it's just a way of passing time. For some, it's where they get their inspiration from. And for some, there's also this debate that as youth, we do not have things to do. We are under a lot of mental pressure, and that's why we are resorting to drug use and abuse.
Yes. That's a very true fact, and I agree to that 100%. Vanhu vazhinji, even tichidzokera kune mukomana Saint Floew, paakatomboitwa interview yekuzokonzeresa kuti azofunga zvekuenda kurehab izvi, mukomana akatodedzera kuti inyaya yekuti kugeto kwatinobva tendisina zvekuita, ndaenda unoona mufeso wangu hapana kana zviri kuita, atongoti ngatiitei izvi. Saka dombo reriya ndo inenge yango option, or madrugs wayo ndo inenge ya option, because havasi exposed to other things. but as well we need to work as a nation kuti how best can we create opportunities especially for the youth so that they don't resort kudombo because utaura chokwadi nambotaura kuti mastreets muri dry mastreets hamuna magwero hamuna kana chibagi vakashata.
Okay, vakashata. But anyways, you know, it's a very, very tricky situation for a lot of people, and I do agree that. But then as a creative yourself, so you have highlighted that the creatives industry is dry. You do not have things to do. What could be done?
What could be done? First things first, the government needs to acknowledge the creatives. Like, it's a thing, but do you know that since independence in Zimbabwe has started a film police. It's well structured to this day. But nema filmmakers mangani, vanhu varutorarama filmmaking. But government ika-endorsa zvinhu even investors can come. Because right about now, ma filmmakers or ma creatives vari kuabuswa out there. Because sezvanambotaura kune nzara kumba wasiya kusina na chikafu so akatopiwa ka $10 ikako kakutombonokubetsera kuti ubatanidze zvinhu 1 or 2 but hazvisiri izvo zvafuna when I'm saying all this and haisi kutaura kuti ndiri kusapota zvemadrugs no zvemadrugs zvakashata but ndiri kuti tikasa-ataka the root cause tinongoramba tine problem iyoyo.
Okay, so now that we've gotten into the creative industry in Zimbabwe, but I feel like Zimbabwe, it has been said a lot of time that we don't have our own brand, we don't have our own trademark. For example, in music, do we have what's Zimbabwean owned music? Do we have Zimbabwean owned films? For example, there's Nollywood, there's Hollywood. What is in Zimbabwe? What can we promote? What can the government even promote? How can we be recognized internationally?
Chinonetsera muZimbabwe chinhu 1 chandakaona. Zvatinogona kurambidzwa kuita munomu, we appreciate it when other cultures bring it. PaTV togona kurambidzwa kuona vanhu vari kukisana vemunomu kunzi hazvifaniri kuitwa munomu. Asi mafirimu ekunze akazviita, maNigerians akazviita, maSouth Africans akazviita tinozvigamuchira. Ndopatiri kuroverwa ipapo. Instead of supporting our very own, tisi tinotanga kutovadzikisira. Zvakati hazviitwe munomu, zvakati hazviitwe. Saka zvakutoda vanhu vari strong, but vanhu vakawanda havasi that strong. I feel kuti muZimbabwe muna naJapreza vakawanda. When I say that I mean kuti mune vanhu vane talent iroro vakawanda. But havasvike ipapo nenyaya yekuti vamwe vacho havasi determined, havana energy. Kune mumwe munhu anoda push. Kwete munhu akaita saJapreza kuti akazvipusha ega. Vamwe vanhu vaitozouya vachita tap into his dream. Saka hasi munhu wese akadaro. So we just saying kuti the environment should be conducive.
And the environment should be conducive for creatives to also tap into their talents. It's not everyone who can just, recognize it automatically and take lead. For some people, they need a little bit of push. We are now going to take a break. Thank you. Welcome back. Just before we were talking about the creative industry, and Mkoma TK here was explaining how we need to support our own people, support our own brands, and support our own things so that we also become marketable on the international platforms. Now, whilst we are there's a very critical issue that has been circulating around, the issue of Naiza Boom, and the people there saying that they've got all this talent. I mean, we've watched Naiza Boom productions; they are good. It's really good local production, but the guys were complaining about them not being properly paid and how they're struggling to even support their own families. I mean, as a creative yourself, what's your take on that?
Yeah, that issue is way bigger than what people are thinking. Zviri kubuda pa surface zvidiki pane zvinenge zvichiitika kuseri. So I'll just try to speak my mind from my understanding from both sides, the director, Naiza Boom, the actors as well who feel kuti they were downplayed. The thing is this, sezvanambotaura muZimbabwe hamutomborina na structure, hamuna anything chekuti ma creatives we can base on. So hapana vari kuti vakabirwa vacho. We can ask a question yekuti Mamakawirirana kuti uchapiwa mari. Was there any contract to it? No, there wasn't. And kungowirirana kuti ngatiite chinhu chedu nekuti mumwe munhu akufila kuti chakubuditsa mari yakawanda, akufila kuti I need to be paid this much. Uyu achiti takambowirirana kuti tiite zvemota mbazvazodii. All I'm just saying is kuti nenyaya yekuti as a whole muindustry macho hamuna structure. Saka even munhu can get away with working with people pasina kana ma-contracts, or even ivo vachitotambira ma-30 acho or ma-20 acho. I know kuti kune mamwe ma-productions ekutoti vamwe vanhu vasupiwa mari. Mwe munhu atongonzi uya ushandire zita. Zviri kutoitika muindustry yedu. Yekutoti ivo vari kutobhadharwa vatori better off. Koita vamwe vanhu futi vekuti zvapana zvinhu zvaitaura director wacho zvinhu zvinobatika zvimwe zvacho. Zvekuti dzimwe mari dzinodzokera back to the production. Because Naiza bomutora chokwadi singe last year yakashanda. Yaipuditsa ma-production after production after production. Zvinhu zvese izvozvo zvinoda mari. Ende chimwe chinhu chinogona kuuraya zvinhu i-feeling of entitlement. Never feel entitled. Zvapana ndikaita mwana will be like Steve Harvey. Probably ndikafanira kuona na 10%. Because don't ever feel entitled kuzvimwe zvinhu siri zvako. I think Matsanga pane paaka-explain achidedzera kuti YouTube yanga iri yemukomana. Saka inini ndaka-understand kuti YouTube ndiye mukomana, ndosaka pandakabuda ndakukwanisa kutaura zvakawanda. Because akarealize kuti problem yanga itoripo from the start. But tikaita ma-structures chaiwo panoitika ma-policies anoprotecta ma-artists nevanhu vari behind the screens as well. Zvinhu zvakadaro zvinobetsera kuti industry yedu iende kumberi. But kubuda kwazvakaita izvo, I think it's an awakening call as well. Because vamwe vanhu vacho sekutaurwa kwazvaiitwa, pane nyaya itombotaurwa futi naMatsanga, ichinzi vamwe vanhu vacho before takatombovati sainai ma-contracts. Ivo vakucomplaina nhasi futi. Hanzi ma-contracts akasvika pakubvaruka 2 times. Ndo vaisada futi kusaina. Vanhu vemuZimbabwe vacho havadi kusaina ma-contracts. Zvimapepa handizvide. But mari unoida. Saka kana wada kana wamhanyirira mari exactly.
So there you have it. You know, it's a matter of conscientizing each other, having the correct policies, and actually understanding what you are doing. Because as TK was elaborating here, there is even more to the story than we know. These people did not have any structures. There were no policies to it. And this, like you're saying, is actually a wake-up call to the creative industries, that there is need to have things structured so that we have our own brands, because Zimbabwe has got so much talent. That much I know. But the problem is that if we are not packaging ourselves very well, we'll fail to make it to the international market. There you have it, Zimbabwe. And thank you.